Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into McNiel's Unfiltered Perspective. And today we're going to be going over the topic of everybody's offended by something. Okay, many people are offended by pretty much everything in this day and age, where would be example, John Smith and Jane Smith. John is a progressive Democrat. Jane is a Democratic Socialist. John's brother, Andrew Smith, is a MAGA Republican. And Jane's sister could be a Libertarian Republican. Jane does believe that all Republicans pretty much should be MAGA. John believes that all Democrats should be progressive. And then Andrew would believe that all Democrats should be progressive. And then the other sibling or other relative pretty much believes that all Republicans should be libertarian in philosophy for a political ideology. What would it upset them for being offended is how the one that they do believe is a Democrat isn't really considered to be a Democrat because on how extreme or how not so extreme they tend to go. Same with the whole Republican duos, where one is a MAGA and one is a Libertarian Republican. One believes that one Republican is going too extreme, the other believes they're not going extreme enough. But in the whole political ideology, people basically will get so offended at the craziest thing. Just like they will even end relationships. They will cut off people just for their political beliefs, especially if it aligns with a extreme or not so extreme agenda type of view. There's even people out there that will be so offended at the person that they actually liked or used to be in a relationship with, all because of their religious beliefs, all because they're offended by either how extreme it is or by how not so extreme it is. Everybody's offended by something. To the point where they'll be like, I don't want to be with this person at all. I don't even want to associate with them. The more honest and mature thing to do in this case is basically make compromises with one another. Just try to tolerate the person that you actually do like just because you like them. Like the person for who they are instead of letting their own political views identify them. When it would come to basically being everybody being offended by everything, there's a classification on racism. Like example, if someone apparently is a Zionist, that automatically makes the whole anti-Zionist agenda racist because they're not defending the Hebrews, they're not defending the Israelites. Whereas if you are against all Muslims, all because of 9/11 and other terrorist activities, you're essentially, in a way, racist to other people. However, your own definition of racism may not align with the textbook definition of racism. What is the textbook definition of racism? Well, if you were to look at Oxford Dictionary, Webster's Dictionary, and so forth, the summarized definition is targeting a group or someone of a certain race or group of people. So, a group of people, in this case, would be like people that follow the Jewish faith, people that follow the Islamic faith, pretty much technically racism can also carry into religious groups if you do think about it, because it does state a group of people. However, if you're thinking so deep into this, it's probably worth thinking about, but it's not worth sweating it over. Just like you can believe in gay marriage, and you can believe that it's wrong. But cutting off a relationship with somebody just because they may or may not believe in something that you agree with ain't the right way to terminate something. It's like if Sally, trying to think of the perfect name to actually use for an example. We're just gonna go with Sally Sunshine. Sally Sunshine in this case, she is strongly against the idea of the LGBT community. But then we see Barbara Flower, and she is all for the LGBT community. However, they're both best friends. They respect one another's belief system. They acknowledge different philosophies that exist, whether it be for them or against them, and they still remain friends. They're not offended by each other's different belief system. You can be a vegetarian and still respect people that eat meat. You can be someone that eats meat and also respect someone for being a vegetarian. You may not like that someone's a vegetarian, or you may not like someone that eats meat. But it's more mature to actually respect basically one another's wishes in this case. When it comes to those with, or if you were to tell people that you're an independent and you don't align with either the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, oh boy, you're going to offend quite a lot of people that are actually of those two parties, because they actually will say, well, you have to be this way or another. They're going to get quite offended, all because you don't believe that you side one way or the other. My stance, I don't really care. I mostly just go for whoever aligns closest to what my views are. I don't let others dictate the type of candidates and people that I root for. It's like, yes, there's good Democratic candidates that actually do align with my views. There's also Republicans that align with my views. I really don't care. Just like when it comes to news agencies. Some people will get so offended that someone shares an article from Fox. Then there's another that gets offended for sharing an article from CNN, MSNBC, which I believe rebranded to be MS Now, if I'm correct. There would also be One News Network, if I'm remembering the name of that correctly. Oh, there's many other different news organizations out there that's hard to keep track of. But if you basically are primarily watching because you actually like the news anchors and the political broadcasters, basically for just who they are, and if someone is to be against that, you would technically be offending them without even realizing that you're offending them. And being offended in this case, it would essentially be like, why? But the one thing that I do know is that we're going to have racist people and we're going to have non racist people. But in this day and age, anything can be considered racist. 10 years ago, on Facebook and YouTube, there was somebody that actually made it viral for claiming that peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are considered racist. To this day, I'm still asking why. And I'm sure so is the internet. Because how can something so simple as a peanut butter and jelly sandwich be racist? And you're going to be pretty much getting a whole different type of answers. You're going to offend people, and you're going to be offended by people. And the type of offended that actually should matter is essentially talking about something that someone actually truthfully cares for, genuine for. You actually have no knowledge of it, and you decide to speak your mouth. Like example, claiming that all cancer can be cured, or claiming that autism is a disease that can be cured, or even should remotely be cured. You're going to get people that are on the spectrum like me, to the point where you're going to be like, dude, what are you even talking about? And why? When it comes to names, everybody's always offended by how we mispronunciate names. This could be like the first ever time you have actually seen a name that is spelled like it, and you would try to try to pronounce and announce it like it's as it's written, like we've always been told. What is the most common phrase that we've been told by teachers growing up? Announce it and pronounce it like it's written. Like example, you can have the name Anne that's spelled with an E at the end, but somehow it could also be pronounced as Anne E instead of just Anne. If you are to look at someone from a different part of the country with a different dialect or a different accent, they're going to mispronunciate names from the American version. Like the Middle Eastern one for Gabriel is Jabril. For Abraham, you're going to get Ibrahim. For people that have never seen the name Sarai, Sarai, they're going to assume it's pronounced Sarah. When it comes to my last name, McNeil, you have no idea how many people have actually pronounced it as McNiel. McNiel, out of all things. One day, as I was in the doctor's office, like years ago, they said, Mr. McNiel? I had to correct them and say, McNeil. But yes, that's me. When it comes to my first name, I guarantee you, half of the globe doesn't even know how to pronounce my first name. Other people, they would be like Geoffrey or Geoffrey, but no. I'd be like, think of like a race car driver, Jeff Bodine. Be like, oh, it's like Joffrey Bodine. Yes. It's gonna be like the giraffe from Toys R Us. And boy, am I dating myself on that one. That giraffe's name is spelled the exact same as mine, but it's spelled, not spelled, but it's said differently. Did y'all know that the way the British people speak when it comes to names versus the American pronunciation? Pretty much the American pronunciation would be Jeffrey. The uh, the British one, along with Scottish, would be Joffrey. I'm unsure how the Germans would pronounce it, but yes. It's like you could have the weirdest name that it would appear as, well, to some, but then other people may have a name that looks weird to you. But depending on how things are pronounced, it's not going to go over easy. And I'm not talking about like the eggs. Oh, I've spoken to a few people and how I basically offended them just simply by mispronouncing their name. When it comes to many things, oh yeah. When it comes to religion, disagree one thing with a church within Christianity. Like one of the core doctrines, if you were to challenge it with a question, the clergy ain't gonna like it. The members, they ain't gonna like it. Um, Asking a church for help, depending on who you get, they might actually be offended or they're actually going to be helpful. In my case, they've been nothing but helpful, but the last time that I actually did request help from the church, treated me like a parasite, like a beggar, even though I try my hardest to be financially mature, try to not spend more than I make. But life happens. Unexpected expenses come and stuff like that. Speaking of which, when it comes to fat comments, pretty much today, Friday, August 21st, someone made a comment about my weight when it was unwarranted and unneeded. And it wasn't anywhere dealing with food. It was basically a comment where I questioned on why the banks pretty much show partialism or impartiality or whatever that term is called, basically when approving people for home loans and other type of loans. And they and the person basically just went after me by saying, "How about you spend so little on stuffing your mouth?" And basically said I had four chins. I ended up blocking that dude. I took a screenshot and I basically posted it to my Facebook. And that's as far as I'm willing to go because two wrongs don't make a right. And I don't really feel like putting people on blast. Just like, that's not really the right way to go. That's more or less of a escalation instead of a de escalation method. When it comes to people getting pissed off or angering somebody or upsetting somebody, there's a solid chance that you're going to be doxxed. And doxxed is quite the illegal activity, especially when it came uh, more prevalent in the whole ICE activity that happened earlier this year and late last year. I don't have a specific uh, view of ICE because I don't want to offend my viewers. But what I am going to be saying though is that everybody's offended by everybody. Everybody's offended by everything. So far, the only thing that doesn't seem to be offended is animals, unless you come within their space. We could be offended from somebody even breathing. We could be offended from the dumbest idea that we've heard. We could even be offended by even somebody's very existence. And since I'm on the topic of everybody being offended by everybody and everybody being offended by everything, I'm also going to tie this in to pretty much hating somebody just because of who they are, to where the topic of hatred is at play. Just like if you claim to stand on the side of not hate, you're essentially either going to be on the side where you actually mean it, or you're going to be on the side of hypocrisy. Like, if you believe that there is no hatred in your heart for pretty much everybody, but yet you go out and you spew vicious, hateful, very strong don't know how I'd put this. Very strong wordage into how you feel about something or somebody. Just like, I may not agree with the Trump administration and everything that they do. Matter of fact, a lot of it actually depresses me. A lot of it I just straight out don't like. There's a lot of politicians out there that I actually don't like. But I wouldn't wish death upon them. I wouldn't wish anybody to actually hurt them. When it comes to politicians that I don't like, I'd much rather them just be voted out or something like that, or have them resign. When it comes to adherents of a political party, I don't hate somebody just because they believe differently than me. I don't even hate people for being of a different religion than me. Just like if you're Muslim, you're cool with me. If you're Jewish, you're cool with me. If you're Jehovah's Witnesses, a member, you're cool with me. You could even be an atheist or a Hindu, and you'll be cool with me. Because I generally don't give a damn. You respect me, I respect you. Just like, you could even be somebody that is, I'm trying to think of a best way to word this. Because I'm thinking of two type of wordings that I could put. You can be gay, and I don't care. You can be against gays, and I still don't care. You could be for trans people, or you could be against. I really don't care. Just as long as you're treating people with respect. Just as long as you're treating me with respect. The point where no offense will be shown. When it comes to fat jokes, the only fat jokes I will ever not be offended of is if I personally know somebody. Like if I actually know someone and they know me, and if I'm comfortable around them, yeah, I don't mind the fat jokes. I do it myself because whenever I do them, or whenever people that I'm personally close to and do them, I don't give a damn because I laugh at a lot of fat jokes. But when it comes to people that I do not know and they're just laying on the fat jokes, or even just giving them unneededly and unwarranted, that's when I'm going to take an issue to it. However, another thing, when it comes to the workforce, when my past other jobs, oh, we, who here has not been offended by a coworker? I have. Any of y'all been offended by a past or current manager? I have. Anybody ever been offended by a customer? I have. Do we just choose to act professional and also let the situation slide? Yeah, that's the more mature thing to do. Like, do I support those that are calling for the deportation of every immigrant, whether they're here legally or not? I'm not going to respect them. I'm not going to hate them. I'm just going to let them be them. However, if they themselves are not showing me any respect, if they're not showing respect to anybody that I know, then no, I'm not going to show them any respect back. I'm not going to like them. I may not like what they do in general, but they have their right to believe what they do believe. Do I believe that a foreign country should be bombed to hell? It all depends. Is it in self-defense of the country to where said country that's going to be bombing them to hell? Did said country do something? Or were they just minding their own business? One country just comes in, starts stuff, and then they just start retaliating with bombs and whatnot. No, I'm not gonna. I'm still gonna respect those that do believe that our country should be bombed just for no apparent reason. However, I may not like them. but I'll still respect their belief. Just like there's people out there that actually believe that the government is here to help them, and there's people like me that do believe that the government, it has its purpose, yes, but there's too much over regulation. I'll still be, I'll still like the person and respect the person, but I may not like the idea. There's a whole bunch of ideas and philosophies, ideologies, that will actually make us question just exactly what their current thought process is. Last year in 2025, I actually had the main question that I'm still partially thinking about to this day, and that would be, who am I really on the whole political spectrum? Because with current politics, you either want to be with one party until you realize that they're too crazy, then you hop on over to the other party, realize that they're also too crazy, and then go to another party and you also realize that they're all too crazy. It is on the perspective on how you see things. Because you can also see things 50-50. It's like you can see the good and you can see the bad. You can see the yin yang. Pretty much the good and the evil. Just like when it comes to, like the only good that I can see that came from, don't really know how I'd word this actually. The only good that came out of wars is when it ends. The only bad that comes from wars is how it starts. The only good that comes from traveling is you get to meet people. The bad that comes with traveling is you may not know the intentions of the residents of where they are living. Oh, and the people that are also in the classes of low income, middle income, high income, and the ultra rich income, or the ultra high income, I should say. Each class will actually have a level of degree for being offended. Just like the low income. You charge them, example, $100 for pretty much anything, they'll be like, "Are you serious?" Middle class will be like, "Well, it's not good, but it's not bad." The rich will be like, they'll have a good offended nature where they'll pretty much just laugh it off. Same with the ultra rich class. Pretty much, we're all offended by something. However, if we're offended by literally everything, why? When it came, oh, I might lose some people on this, but last year in September, with the whole Charlie Kirk thing, a lot of people do believe and hope that he would die from that whole gunshot thing. Me, like I mentioned, I would never wish death on my own worst enemy. I wouldn't even wish it on my first ex-wife. Why? I'm a Christian. I believe that it is actually wrong to wish death upon another. I do believe that it's wrong and highly, highly offensive to wish the wrong and worst on anybody, regardless who they are. Did Charlie deserve to die? No. Did he deserve to get attacked? Also, no. Um, was he a racist? All depends on who you ask, because I'm not going to be giving that answer out. It may be unfiltered, but at least have a decency of knowing when to actually stay quiet. When it comes to this year's election, there's good candidates on the Democratic Party tickets, and there's also going to be good candidates on the Republican Party tickets. There's even good candidates on third party tickets as well, coming into the November election for 2026. We all choose the candidates that we believe have the best interests for us. But then there's those that have the civic duty to vote, while at the same time acknowledging that no party is perfect. Nobody is perfect except one person, and that'd be Jesus Christ. But, yeah, oh, we even, in our society, we get offended by even the types of jobs that people do. And I'll never understand on why we get so offended on whether somebody is a garbage collector, a trash collector, or even if they're custodial or other forms of jobs that most people would dislike. But anyway, this concludes um, the whole episode on everybody being offended by everything and everybody offended by everybody. Stay tuned for the next podcast episode. I'm wanting to say the next episode is going to be Sunday, but I'm not going to be giving a definite time. Um, it's going to be Sunday, but no promises on a specific set time. But after Sunday, the next episode is going to be on a Friday. But, yeah, thanks for tuning in, and y'all have a nice day now. Peace.